The clock is ticking for the Special Prosecution and Constitutional Court, while presidential hopefuls announce their candidacy ahead of a major holiday. The economy still tops the list of concerns for the public this year. In time for Lunar New Year celebrations, we take a closer look at current economic conditions. All this right ahead. Welcome to News Inside. I'm An Jang-hyun. Let's welcome back our panelists. Professor Shin Sang-hyuk from Kyung University Graduate School of International Studies is back with us, as is Dr. Bong Young-sik from Yonsei University Institute for North Korea Studies. Welcome back. It's a Lunar New Year Seol holiday here in Korea. For most Koreans, it'll be a much-deserved break and time to sit down with the family. Politics will likely emerge as a topic of discussion during this time, with the president's ongoing impeachment trial. And for those eyeing the presidential race, the holidays may offer a glimpse of how public opinion is shaping up. Here's a look at some of the latest developments.
A large number of presidential hopefuls announced their bid for the 19th presidential race this week.
세 번째 들어설 민주정부는 일자리를 최우선의 과제로 삼는 일자리 정부가 될 것입니다.
정권 교체가 아니라 정치 교체가 이루어져야 될 때라고 생각합니다.
Former chair of the Minju Party of Korea, Moon Jae-in, unveiled his campaign pledges, while ex-UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon focused on garnering more public support.
그 이재명과 함께 새로운 나라 건설에 함께 나서 주십시오.
제 모든 것을 바쳐서 제대로 고치고 싶습니다.
세상을 바꿀 젊은 리더십, 저 안희정입니다. 여러분 함께 바꿉시다.
Seongnam City Mayor Lee Jae-myung and Chungcheongnam-do Province Governor An Hee-jung announced their candidacies, while former chair of the People's Party An Chol-soo signaled his intentions of running. Fast developments were also seen in the influence peddling scandal investigation by the Special Prosecutor's Office. After launching the probe on December 21st, the team has passed the midpoint of its initial 70-day term. On February 28th, it may conclude the investigation or use its on-time extension of 30 days. One of the major variables ahead will be probing the presidential office of 청와대.
대통령 대면 조사와 그 청와대의 강제 수사 부분은 미 특검 수사에 있어서 필요하다고 판단되는 부분이기 때문에 이제 오늘까지는 아직 현재까지는 구체적 일정은 나와 있지 않습니다만은 그 차질이 없도록 정확하게 향후 일정을 조율해서 추진하도록 하겠습니다.
The second will be whether Choi Soon-sil's daughter Chung Yura will be extradited from Denmark, where she has been detained by authorities for illegal stay. Meanwhile, over at the Constitutional Court, the ninth hearing has taken place some 50 days after it was tasked with reviewing the president's parliamentary impeachment. Following this, lawmakers from a parliamentary committee overseeing the impeachment are looking to speed up the court's final ruling by revising the motion so that it only contains alleged breaches of the Constitution. On the last day of this month, out of the 9 court justices, President Park Han-cheol's term will come to an end, leaving the following proceedings and final decision with the 8 remaining justices.
재판관 각자가 9분의 1 이상의 매우 중요한 의미를 가지고 있습니다. 헌법재판소 구성에 더 이상 이 큰 문제가 발생하기 전에 늦어도 3월 13일까지는 이 사건의 최종 결정이 선고되어야
As the country inches towards the 2-month mark of the president's impeachment vote, much will be on the minds of the public as they celebrate one of the country's biggest holidays. We examine the latest political issues of debate.
We've seen quite a few contenders announce their candidacies just ahead of Seol, which is set to be a good time to win public support and set the stage for the race. Why is that so?
Well, the Lunar New Year Seol is the largest holiday in Korea. So all families just gather together and they discuss many things together.
Including politics.
Including politics. Well, Particularly when we think family members or very close friends who spend their childhood together, they can be very franky. And then after the holiday, many people decide their mind to, who they will support for, and then which political party they cast a vote. So traditionally, the Seol holiday, whenever there was the election, the Seol holiday has been very important opportunity for the contenders to get the support from the people.
That's why politicians get busy around this time of the year, but it's also a time when politicians can find themselves in trouble.
Right. That's why this is a kind of a make or break time for certain number of primary presidential candidates, including Mr. Pan Ki-moon and the governor of Chungcheong province, Mr. An Hee-jung, and the mayor of Seongnam City, Lee Jae-myung. Especially for the former UN General Secretary Pan Ki-moon, since his arrival to Korea, his popularity has failed to rise, but it has been plummeting. Now it's in the high teens and the 10% margin between the forerunner, who is Mr. Moon Jae-in, representing the Democratic Party. So he has to do something in order to help overturn the public sentiment in favor of him. On the other hand, other candidates from the opposition side needs to somehow increase their popular recognition, because they are all very formidable politicians, but their nationwide recognition has not been at par with other forerunners like Mr. Moon Jae-in or Secretary General Pan Ki-moon. Because clock is ticking, depending upon how early and fast the Constitutional Court will decide on ruling on President's impeachment.
Yes. So far, who are the major players in the race, and where do they stand in the latest polls? Take a look.
Pollster Real Meter shows in its latest survey that as of the third week of January, former Minju Party chair Moon Jae-in is in the lead. Now retired UN Secretary General Pan Ki-moon is in second place, while Seongnam Mayor Lee Jae-myung, former People's Party chair An Chol-soo, and Chungcheongnam-do Governor An Hee-jung trail behind. In a hypothetical six-way race by party, Moon Jae-in is still in the lead. Independent candidate Pan Ki-moon, People's Party An Chol-soo, and acting President Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-an from Saenuri Party followed. Bareun Party's Yoo Seung-min and Justice Party's Shim Sang-jung came in behind. Meanwhile, a poll from R and Search shows that while Moon Jae-in and Pan Ki-moon are still leading the race like in other surveys, acting President Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-an has seen a recent surge in ratings.
Of course, these figures may change after this Seol holiday. What are some factors that could alter the course?
Particularly the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Pan Ki-moon, does not seem to have enough time, because he should make it clear his stance about the various issues and then his political the philosophy, and then also he should give us the visions. But he does not yet give us the very clear explanations or ideas about these issues yet. Without those kind of things, when the families get together, we do not discuss about Mr. Pan Ki-moon. He will be out of the race in some sense. So this could be a very huge disadvantage for him to get the support from the people. In the same context, many candidates, we can see right now about 10 candidates right now jumping into the presidential the race. But many of them, except for already existing, pre-existing the candidates, they also fail to show their political visions or his capacity to the people. So in this context, many of the candidates for the presidential election this year should have to hurry up to give those kind of ideas to the people as soon as possible. In this context, Mr. Moon Jae-in has some advantages, I think.
Well, as for former UN Secretary General Pan Ki-moon, on top of everything that Professor Shin said, there are now questions as to whether he's actually eligible to run for president. What's the debate there?
Right, it's a very surprising development with regard to his eligibility to run in this presidential race. There are certain points that still are subject to heated legal debates among legal experts and government officials related to the Article 16, Section 1 of the election law with regard to public office, including the president's office. Then the candidate who is eligible should have lived at least 5 years in the Republic of Korea and should be older than age 40 and maintaining the citizenship as a Korean citizen. And what if he or she has been spending time out of the country because of fulfilling public duty or maintaining important position representing his or her own company? Then it is regarded as continuous living residence inside South Korea as long as it's carrying out the official duty as a member of the Republic of Korea. So, and the controversies stem from interpreting all these basic elements. One, the National Election Commission actually sent the initial response letter to the media inquiry, but it is not far from official and final position of the commission yet. But the letter admits that Mr. Ban Ki-moon has no problem in terms of eligibility in this election. The problem is that some legal scholars argue that the Article 16 stipulates that the candidate should continuously maintain the residence inside South Korea. But Mr. Ban Ki-moon, while working in the United Nations, has maintained residence in New York City.
For 5 years prior to the election.
Prior to the election, right. So it doesn't count as a continuous residence inside South Korea, depending upon the interpretation, and has been carrying out official duty for the South Korean government. But he ran for the position in the United Nations as a private citizen who is a Korean citizen. So it was not Mr. Ban Ki-moon officially working for the Korean government.
He wasn't a Korean official.
Right, right. He was not paid by the Korean government either. And the commission, the National Election Commission, has no final say or the authority to decide on all these issues. It will be finally determined in the court, judging from the previous similar cases.
So there's still a lot of confusion. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court has been speeding up the impeachment trial proceedings, and there's now speculation that a ruling may be out by early March or mid-March at the latest. What do you think?
Well, I think it's quite realistic forecasting. Well, since the Constitutional Court took over the President Park's impeachment case, they have had the 2 or 3 times hearings every week. Well, considering the previous case, Oh Moo-yeon's case, after 7 hearings, the Constitutional Court made a final ruling. Of course, there is something we have to consider from the defenders. The President Park Geun-hye's side, they asked the 39 witnesses to the Constitutional Court, even though the Constitutional Court did not take all of them as witnesses. They just took about the 10 witnesses. So on the part of the Constitutional Court, the asking from the President Park's side seems to be a way to delay the trial proceedings. So they took only 10 out of the 39 witnesses suggested by the defenders, lawyers for Mr. President Park Geun-hye. So considering all of these things, definitely all hearings will be completed by the end of the February or beginning of March. If the case is accepted by the Supreme Court, within 60 days, the presidential election should be conducted. If this case is not accepted by the Constitutional Court, the President Park Geun-hye will get back to office immediately. So this is totally different story.
One thing that we have to remember is that President Park Geun-hye has been impeached by the National Assembly for 9 counts. And unlike other criminal cases, this impeachment case only needs to prove only 1 out of 9 charges in order to make the decision to impeach president out of office. So there is a reason that Constitutional Court can, maintain quite reasonable speed to reach the final decision.
And we spoke earlier about how politicians will use this opportunity to win over public support. When it comes to public sentiment, the economy invariably becomes a major determining factor, especially around big traditional holidays like Seol. Well, here's a look at some of the biggest issues in the economy.
Many were hoping for a Lunar New Year Seol of abundance, but the recent trend in grocery prices suggests otherwise. Main food items such as cabbages, radishes, and other vegetables, as well as beef and egg prices have skyrocketed compared to last year. A surge in demand in time for the national holiday is unlikely.
소비자들이 지갑을 안 열어요. 그러니까 한 이런 명절 다가오면 항상 올라갔는데 거꾸로 다운되고 있어요.
그 차례상 비중이 가장 큰 쇠고기 가격 상승이 주 요인으로 작용하였고 대추무 등 겨울 채소 등도 일부 영향을 주었습니다.
Ahead of Seol, people were feeling the pinch, prompting the government to address rising costs of everyday goods.
최근 서민들이 체감하는 장바구니 물가 상승에 대해서는 일일 점검 체제를 구축해서 모니터링하고 있습니다. 비축 물량 공급을 확대하여 서민 가게에 부담이 되지 않도록 적극적으로 대처해 가고 있습니다.
First, it imported eggs to make up for the shortage in supply caused by a massive bird flu outbreak. It also offered big discounts on produce and livestock goods at local co-ops and public home shopping services. In addition, it has rolled out price management schemes for items in high demand during the holidays. Retailers have introduced a large number of gift sets under the price cap of 50,000 won, or about $43, outlined in the anti-graft law introduced last year. Despite these efforts, sales have been slow.
부정평가법이 처음으로 적용되는 설이다 보니까 구매하시는 고객 수는 비슷한데 저렴한 거를 구매하시다 보니까 매출이 전년보다 감소하는 것으로 나타났습니다.
Concerns about the anti-corruption law hurting consumption have long been raised. In light of this, the government has decided to review the price caps and possibly upward adjust them. From the start of the year, the government has implemented a number of measures to revive domestic demand, and many consumers will hope to see the results reflected in their daily lives.
Ahead of major traditional holidays like Seol and Chuseok, we always see reports about the expected cost of preparing an ancestral rites or chesa table, which requires a specific setting of foods and dishes. Apparently this year, prices are a bit higher. But why do we always see these price surveys?
Well, just during these holidays, demands for the foodstuff and those things increase. Without increase of the supply increase, definitely demands increase resulted in price increases. During these holidays, all people are preparing for ancestral rites, the table. That means that if the price goes up, almost every people feel the some additional burden, financial, economic burden because of this. The preparation of this ancestral rites table. So this is very sensitive on the part of the government. As you know very well, the Korean economy has been in the bad shape over the last several years. Under such a kind of difficult situation, the consumers cannot do many things. Their role is very limited. The private sector is also has some limits in doing something. So traditionally, in such a kind of economic difficult period, the government should play something. So as we discussed several times already, the government should play appropriate role in overcoming the economic difficulties. But because of the external and internal difficulties facing us, the government seems to have huge difficulties in playing an appropriate role. And this is the given conditions. We have such a kind of big holidays. Then, as I said before, people want to buy something more. then on the short-term basis, they can increase the supply of those kind of stuff. That means that prices in the market will go up. And the government should do that, do something to control the price increases. But if the government cannot do that, then people will complain about it. So this is very important, not only internally, but also internationally. If any government cannot efficiently deal with this kind of issues, they will face huge difficulties. To make matters worse, right now we have the leadership vacuum. So the government has huge difficulties in implementing efficient policies. So this is one of the most difficult part we have in the Korean economy. But anyway, because of those kind of reasons, I mean, the government just tried to check it out, the market situation. In the past, I mean, based on the responses from the market, the government should have to prepare some policies to deal with this kind of situation.
I realized I should have said 차례 instead of
Sorry, yes.
제사, yes.
Right.
But on top of the burden that many households face because of setting up this 차례 or ancestral rights table, there's something else about 설, which is 세뱃돈, money given by older family members to younger ones in exchange for New Year's bows and greetings.
Right. That's a beautiful custom on the New Year's Day.
A burdensome custom to some.
To some people, yes. So the younger members of family bow and wish good luck and good health to the senior members of family, and senior member of family in return give a small amount of money as a token of blessing and appreciation. That's called 세뱃돈. 돈 means money. That's a beautiful custom, but there's a kind of a sad aspect to it these days. According to the nationwide survey, the average expense of average Korean citizen during Seol holidays this year will be about 370,000 wons. About 40% of that expense will be used for 세뱃돈. And if you have a job and if you're married, then you are expected to be more generous. That if you are receiving the bow from your children or grandchildren, then you are expected to give like $10. But if you get the blessing, the 세배 from older members of family, like college age cousin or niece, nephews, then they're expected about, according to the survey, of $50.
Now, retailers this year have had to grapple with crimped spending because of surging grocery prices, including eggs, because we had that bird flu outbreak. But apparently there are other factors that are driving down demand as well.
Yes, I think so. I mean, there are several factors. One of the representative factors people are thinking is the Anti-Graft Kim Yong-nan Act. Because of that,
it puts a cap on the amount of money you can spend on gifts.
Right. Regarding the Kim Yong-nan Act, I mean, the government right now considering whether it can be changed a little bit to minimize the side effects, negative side effects on the Korean economy.
And I think to better reflect the reality.
Yes, I think so. Yes, that's one of the basic voices from the people. And on the top of these factors, of course, sluggish global economy. Well, as we discussed many times, the Korean economy is directly related to the global economy. Of course, every country's economies are directly related to the global economy, but Korea is especially. Why? Because we have economic structure which is heavily rely on external trade.
Right.
So sluggish global economy has been one of the negative factors on the Korean economy. And the Korean economy has been in bad shape over the several years. In the middle of those kind of economic difficulties, Kim Yong-nan Act certainly became the additional negative factor or burden on the Korean economy. And also very recently, bird flu. I mean, because of the bird flu, many Korean the hens and dogs should be called hens. So a lack of supply of the egg to the market resulted in price increase of the eggs in the Korean market. Well, egg has been one of the representative, the common food. I mean,
and it goes in tteokguk.
Yes.
And that's a staple
Since
dish
when,
for
do we
Seollal.
worry about the price of egg?
Yes, so I think there must be several factors. But well, as I said before, the Kim Yong-nam Act seems to be some needs to be revised, reflecting the reality. I think so. Yes.
Right. I look into the recent survey about the Kim Yong-nam Act, the anti-graft law, and it's pretty close. The opinion in favor of raising the bar, the 3.3510 limits on gift giving needs to be changed. It's about 49% according to the survey conducted by Real Meter with the CBS. But the opposite opinion is also strong. About 40.3% of Koreans believe that the law should remain as it is. Their arguments are, one, the law has been in effect only 100 days. We have to give it more time. And two, there's a strong public anger and discontent about the bribery scandals not so swiftly prosecuted by the government and the prosecutor's office, because it is very delicate and difficult for the prosecutor's office to prove with concrete evidence the bribery, the kickback, because the corporations or the CEOs of corporations have been evading the charges by the prosecutor's office, saying that they were the victims. They were extorted by the government officials. So they cough up money in the name of donations, but they did not receive anything in return, no kickbacks. So they are free of charge as an accomplice in bribery. So there's a public anger that even if there's a great deal of discomfort, inconvenience, and confusion generated by the anti-graft law, Kim Yong-nam-법, but we have to endure this in order to rectify the problem related to the widespread bribery between the government and big corporations.
Perhaps so.
If I add one thing, yes, I fully agree with Dr. Pong, because we just started this anti-graft law, act. This is the first the Lunar New Year holiday. Everything is not perfect, so we should have to try to find something to be revised from the real implementation of this policy. So I think everything has two sides. Every coin has two sides. So I think it will take a time. So as Dr. Bong pointed out, we have to wait and see, and then we have to make every effort to improve the system itself.
In the meantime, we see a lot of politicians, as well as including presidential candidates, head out to traditional markets around these major holidays. Why has that become such a quintessential political event?
Well, it is something that the politicians have to do in order to gather votes.
Have to do?
Right, have to do. Because they need to demonstrate on their side, their champion of common, innocent, hardworking citizens. And two, they want to demonstrate the image that they have a strong hold on the national economy. Because according to the recent survey by Yonhap TV and KBS, in response to the question, what is the most critical issue for you in the upcoming presidential election, 50.1% answer that economic policy. And the second most important issue to them was social welfare, at 15%. So basically 2 out of every 3 Korean constituents wants solid and reliable economic policy from presidential candidates.
They want a better living.
Right. So these candidates need to answer this inquiry and demand from the constituents during these holidays.
But my question is, don't we all know already that these politicians go out to traditional markets only during these times and right before elections? Right.
But at the same time, they seem to be holding on to the old wisdom that it's better than not doing at all. Right?
Well, in light of the recent political scandal, there's also a public outcry over the cozy ties between political circles and the family-run conglomerates, chaebol. Now, major reforms are being proposed in this area by presidential hopefuls. What do you think about their arguments?
It sounds very good, though, but I think we have to be very careful. I mean, the Korean economy could be developed. I mean, started to be developed since 1961. Then government adopted the development strategies. Which put the huge priorities on the cooperation with private sector, particularly several the business conglomerate chaebols. So Korean economy has been developed based on the special cooperation between the government and the chaebols. So we reached where we are right now. We became the 12th largest economy in the world. When I heard some statements, proposals made by the presidential candidate, some proposals are out of reality. I mean, too extreme. Someone just said that we have to dismantle the chaebols. I don't think it's a good idea. Of course, we have to change. We have to make some changes in the ownership or decision-making procedures within chaebols, but we need chaebol. I mean, we cannot dismantle all chaebols at once. Without him, how we can keep our dynamism in our economy? So, I mean, we have to maintain the basically relations, cooperative relations with the chaebol. I think it seems to be very important. Of course, we have to find something to be revised, improved regarding the some strategies regarding the business conglomerates and the systems within the chaebols. But we should, I think it's better for us to maintain the current relationship with the government and the private sector. Second point, in fact, the government, the fact is this, about the relationship between the government and the chaebols. It has been changed very dramatically. In 1961, when President Park Chung-hee took power, he enacted one law, named the Foreign Exchange Control Regulations. That became the law controlling the private sector. According to this law, the government controlled the source of money 100%. To get the foreign loans from the outside Korea, they should get the approval from the government. And that to get the loan from the domestic commercial banks, well, they should get it was quite impossible without the government approval because the ownership of the the commercial banks were in the hand of the government. So government could control the source of money, which was very important for the private sector, very efficiently. Because of that, the special relationship between the government and the private sector could be established. But since that time on, it has been changed. Right now, the commercial banks' ownership has been returned back to the private sector. Of course, government has involved in the decision makings within the commercial banks. And how about the foreign exchange control regulations? It has been changed dramatically. So we have to accept that the relationship between the government and private sector has been changed. So we have to understand the reforms which is needed within the chaebol in this context. Show must go on. We can keep on changing something bad in within the chaebol system and in the relations between the government and chaebol. I think that's my idea.
Yeah. Well, Samsung's heir apparent Lee Jae-yong recently made global headlines for his alleged involvement in bribery, which was one facet of this ongoing political scandal. Now, a court denied an arrest warrant for Lee, but given his high profile and the close coverage of the foreign media of this event, do you think this could have a lasting impact on Samsung, the company as a whole?
I don't think so, for several reasons. One, that the case has not been concluded to prove that Mr. Lee Jae-yong has been involved in this extortion and bribery scandal. So far, the Samsung has maintained the same position that the company was extorted to make donations, but it has not received any kickback from the government. So there is no bribery charge. And the justice in the courts also accepted that argument and denied the arrest warrant. So we have to wait until the special prosecutor's investigations on other CEOs of the companies proceed, and how and if there will be any new evidence that will prove the implications of the Mr. J.Y. Lee of Samsung Electronics. Otherwise, then the Samsung Corporation remains innocent until it's proven guilty. And second, according to the LA Times article, which analyzed the current arrest warrant case of Mr. Lee, then consumers in the overseas market, consumers in other countries outside South Korea are not so much interested about these political scandals involving major business companies, but they are mainly interested in the quality of the products and the price. So they would mind greatly if Galaxy Note 7 explodes, or the Samsung Electronics washing machine spins funny ways. Then it will make a direct impact, negative impact on consumers' decisions. But this is a political case which is not really in the minds of the overseas consumers. Until there is another charge that will really put the leadership of Samsung at the corner, then Samsung's global image can be maintained as it is now.
Well, over the Seol holiday, political leaders and presidential candidates will no doubt be thinking up ways to improve people's livelihoods. What are some things they should keep in mind?
This is a very important time for the future of Korean economy and Korean politics. So the politicians should put the first priority on the Korea and Korean people, not personal interest or the political party's interest, as I already explained many times. Second one is, very recently, according to many surveys, asking the people's interest among the many issues we have, the concerns about the economy became number one. So I think the politicians, political leaders should have to spend more time to think about how to overcome the economic difficulties. At the moment, as I explained before, many economists think about there are a few remaining the ways for Korean economy to overcome the economic challenges is the efficient government role. So the government, presidential candidates or political leaders should have to spend more time to find more detailed the strategies or economic policies to overcome the economic difficulties.
All right, let's wrap up on that note. Any final words you'd like to share with us?
Well, first of all, happy Lunar New Year, Seol holiday, and then during this the holiday, we have to discuss many things, particularly about Korean politics and Korean political leaders with their families and with their friends. Based on this kind of discussion, we have to make a right choice in the election, in the coming presidential election. That will be very important for the future of Korea.
Dr. Paul?
I'd like to draw attention to the explosive element in the upcoming presidential election. We have to be aware of the enticing power of demagogues or the promises that the politicians irresponsibly make in order to gather more votes. Because we have witnessed a rising anger and disappointment about further marginalization of blue-collar workers or unemployed members in the society. And many politicians make rather irresponsibly many rosy promises just to get their votes. We have witnessed the populism made historical changes in other countries, such as the United States and Great Britain. So this is a crucial year, regardless of the Constitutional Court decision on the impeachment of President Park Geun-hye, because we are scheduled to have presidential election anyway this year. So being aware of the populist remarks and the pitches should be emphasized in the upcoming election.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that policies always seem to take a backseat to promises and scandals. Yeah. Well, thank you two very much for sharing your thoughts with us today, and happy Seol to you too.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of News Inside. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more next week.